Hi, this is Fred Ray Libran, and I want to invite you to think about dictionaries and grammars in a little different way. I didn't realize this was such a big deal. I guess because I've fiddled with hermeneutics and language and linguistics and such for so long, I just thought we all knew this, but apparently we don't. So hermeneutics is the kind of the science of interpretation. How do you interpret meaning in sentences and language? So I want to show you something on my screen. See if I can make this happen nicely. So here I look for why are dictionaries and grammars dangerous? And I get definitions and definitions and definitions. And have to look up this Romani Congress. I'm not sure, but I'm on page 2 now. Dangerous words, dangerous definition more. Converging grammars in Singapore English, grammar definition. Finally get to a danger relying on spell check and grammar check, which has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It's worse if you take like grammar out and simply make it about our dictionaries. Dangerous. It's just not anything but dictionary. This is going to be on programming. So we're even in another world, but not anywhere around what I'm interested in pointing out. So just, I guess, bear with me a moment and think clearly. And that is, I'd say, around a word like so what does that word spell? Is it minute or is it minute? Now you can look it up and tell very clearly that there's grammarians and other people that'll explain how the accent does something for you. But here's the point. There is not a way to know about that word and which word or which word meaning is in play until there is a context. So until we actually have, excuse me, I knew the exact minute, right? She would call. Or your understanding is so small on this aspect of technology that one could easily label it as minute or small, right? So there might be debate there, but this context here, exact, she would call, there's a time game in place. So minute is obvious, pretty clear. And minute tied to small. So we have small here and minute here. Just a bit of a redundancy. But this is the problem. So dictionaries can be dangerous because we look up words and we decide the dictionary is telling us what it means. The dictionary cannot tell you what a word means. It can only tell you a range of meanings associated with that word. Some are more common, some are less. It's actually the use in the context that matters. And worse than that, it's actually the intention of the person writing or stating the sentence, the word, using it. It's what they mean. They can make a mistake. Normally, if we're awake at all, we catch it and correct it. But they're the one that gets to determine what it means. We're in a world now that is imposing meaning on sentences. This goes into postmodernism, some other odd things, and hermeneutics and language, stuff like that. So I guess the lesson here is that you want to use dictionaries in a cautious way to understand that they're just giving you information about possible meanings of a word. You want the context to dictate it to you. Same thing with grammar. Grammar is a fluid thing. It's not set. We don't speak like we did in Elizabethan days. We don't use that exact grammar. Grammar is democratic. It has to do with how we use it in the language. I would understand with Pinker, we're hardwired for language, and as a result, we are adjusting, inventing, and tweaking grammar as we go along. There's not exactly a right way to do things. You can see this in all great writers. They violate the rules. Technical people and grammarians force us to try to follow the rules, but the rules were made up, and then they just became accepted by the population. So a grammar in the exact same way is simply giving you a range of possibilities, which, for perhaps incredibly delightful reasons, you might violate. So let me show you one more little thing that I think you might find fun, just as an example. So here's a famous poem by E. Cummings. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May went down to the beach to play one day, and Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles. And Millie befriended a stranded star whose rays 5 languid fingers were. And Molly was chased by a horrible thing which raced sideways while blowing bubbles. And May came home with a smooth round stone, as small as a world and as large as a loan. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves we find in the sea. So, a lot to it, but what you can notice is E. Cummings, who is a very famous poet, did not capitalize anything. He capitalized for at the end. Probably a reason. We'd probably have to study that one. I'm just looking at it. So here he is doing an innovation. He was famous for this, not capitalizing words. And it has a certain effect. I got 2 words for you. So what? For your budding writer, how much stress do you put on grammar and word meanings in a way that inhibits really getting at playing with language? Now, I just think all of us should be able to write well grammatically. And I think we ought to be able to try different things. What the danger is pretending that the dictionary and the grammars are rock solid and static when they're not. They're fluid, they're dynamic, they're growing. They're giving us hints or some record of a moment in time. A lot like nature. It's not static. It's all in constant change, a lot like our lives, not static and change. So I hope you find this little tidbit helpful. Dictionaries, grammars, they're good for what they are, but they're not the answer of what we need to grow as writers. Hope this helps.